These last couple sections here, factors that influence, and then some nutritional concepts. Okay. These are the last couple things, last couple sections. These I usually ask one of these. I don't ask both. Okay. One sometimes ends up as an essay, one ends up as a multiple choice or a series of multiple choices. On this first exam, I think there's like 3 or 4 essay questions. I can't remember off the top of my head. But factors that influence healthy eating habits, sorry, that is one of them. And then the next potential one is key nutritional concepts that we'll kind of discuss over the course of the semester. But without further ado, what are some of the factors that influence? Man, there's a lot of them. And we try to address some of them throughout the semester, eating disorders being one of them. Chapters 16, 17, and 18 at the end of the semester, we look at it more there, I guess, where we can look at specific times, elderly, when you're pregnant, when you're breastfeeding, or when you're actively growing from age 0 to 18. So I look at that a little bit more when we get into those chapters and whatnot, 14, 16, 17, 18, I believe. But here we have a nice little list, okay, of some of the major factors associated with what causes you to choose the foods that you choose, okay? One of the major ones is where you're at in life, okay? How old are you? When you're an infant to a young child, I mean, you rely on mom breastfeeding you, mom or dad feeding you, or whoever the caregiver is, okay? You rely on that caregiver choosing the foods to shovel in your mouth. When you become a teenager, you get a little bit more control over that. Yes, caregivers are going to be probably very involved in this, and hopefully they are. But you're going to be able to decide. My oldest is 14 now, okay? And he exerts a little bit more control. He has since he turned 13, 12, 13, okay? Again, he does a pretty decent job of making good choices, but he's a 14-year-old boy. So, I mean, he's going to get a hold of a chip bag every once in a while, okay? I'm going to look at him in disgust, all right? But it's just a look. He's also, like, you can't tell how big I am on screen here, but, he's like that much more taller than me. It's stupid. He tries to exert dominance. I'm like, dude, I'm old. I'm going to whoop your ass. And then he backs off a little bit until he gets hungry again. And then he comes at me, children. But he tries to exert more control over his diet. For the most part, he does a pretty decent job. Plus, he knows we see what he buys at school, and he knows that we won't add any more money to it if he buys bad stuff. Young adults, that's all of us in this room here. We get to broaden our food choices, and obviously we are the dude and dudettes involved in deciding what we eat. And now we can try a heck of a lot more. Sometimes those foods are not really good for you, but so delicious. And some of them are healthy, great choices for us. So we are deciding. Elderly, older adults, they have limited food choices because lack of income, medication. Certain medications interfere with certain foods, health issues, okay? They can't digest certain foods anymore, or they don't have teeth. They have fake teeth. And it's really weird to chew with fake teeth. I would assume. I don't have them, I don't know. But I would assume. Okay. So there's medications that they're on that alters their perception of food. So there's a number of different things. So at each stage in life there is a various effect that can happen. We see this now more than anything. We rely on bringing in that information, smell of it, the look of it, the texture of it when we put it in our mouth, what it initially tastes like. All of those things affect our perception of what we like and dislike. And so when we lack the ability to smell properly, COVID, smell and taste are boom. Both of them feed into our perception of what we like and dislike an insane amount. We can't take one without the other. Okay. If you've ever had a cold before COVID, food just tastes different when you can't smell it. Okay. So we see that now. I think there was an article published the other day talking about how it's a little bit more difficult now to get kids to eat vegetables because of that smell perception is wacky in COVID cases, people who have COVID, certain types of COVID, or an inability to smell it. Okay. So that is really affecting children's love for trying to try new things, especially vegetables. There's also internal sensations, physiological factors, hunger and thirst. When you haven't been consuming enough water, here in your brain, there's a little relay center there that says, you know what? You don't have enough water. It stimulates a region of the hypothalamus that says, you are thirsty, go find water. It does a number of other things as well, but that's the simplistic version of it. You get up out of your chair and you go get a glass of water. Okay. Hunger, the same thing. That's in your stomach. You have some receptors in the stomach. And all of a sudden they get activated and that stimulates a region within the brainstem, the hypothalamus, to help stimulate that drive, that need to go find food. There are some foods that can exacerbate these internal sensations and make you want to eat more, make you want to eat less. There's a lot of fun things that goes into that. And we'll address some of those in chapter 4. Cognitive, psychological stuff, okay? Stress. When you're stressed, you eat different, man. Food can affect your mood and vice versa. There are certain foods that can make you feel really good because you can remember sitting there and eating with mom. And you love that memory. You love that sense. So it's going to drive you to go find that food more. You're not going to think of it that way, but it is. So past experiences and the mood that it can cause are huge in psychological drives for you to go find food. If you all of a sudden love the food, but then it just made you throw up violently for some reason, food poisoning, whatever, that's a huge negative association with it. So now you're not going to want to do it. You see a lot of times with women who are pregnant, foods just smells, just set them off. Okay. And a food that they used to love eating before, all of a sudden they just have a huge aversion to, just because of that negative association that they experienced during the carrying of the creature inside. Okay. Something we don't get into a whole hell of a lot, but religion, cultural practices, okay, ethnic dishes that you always eat. We see a lot of those in the Black community and then the Hispanic communities. Okay. There are certain cultural practices, certain foods that they eat a heck of a lot of. And those tend to be foods that are not as healthy for you. Religious teachings, eating certain types of foods at certain different times. So there's a lot of factors that can affect, if you subscribe to those things, religion and certain cultural normals, okay, that can affect the foods that you choose. A lot of things that we don't really think about, and we term this kind of big thing as called environmental factors. What a food cost. You wouldn't think of it as being environmental, but we clump it here with this. Deciding between a couple different foods, one that you really like, tasty, that's super expensive, or one that's very similar to it, not as tasty, a hell of a lot more affordable, you're going to choose that. Go to Aldi's. Have you ever eaten at Aldi's or shopped at Aldi's? Probably never eaten at Aldi's. That would be weird. But shopped at Aldi's? Good God. It's insane what you can find there for super affordable. And most of it's pretty damn good compared to what you can find at some of the other stores. Okay? But again, cheap. And there you go. Aaron works there, so Aaron knows. There you go. There's a plug for Aldi's. Proximity. I mean, dude, I can throw a rock in several different directions at my house here, and I can hit a fast food chain. Okay. It's funny. My kids are funny. I've indoctrinated my children into eating good. So kudos to me, I guess. They did listen to something. And it's funny, they'll be like, because there's a Taco Bell, like close, a couple of them close. And they're just like, they love Mexican, but they never want to eat Taco Bell because they know it's not good for you. And they'll just be amazed at the amount of people. I mean, I love me some Taco Hell, but man, I just can't do it. Availability of food, that has to go with kind of food cost. Also, that has to go into food deserts, which was more of an inner city issue. And we have a little video, hopefully later in the semester that you guys can be able to watch. And they talk about that a heck of a lot more. I don't really get into the food deserts and whatnot, but there are huge numbers of them here in the Kansas City alone. Government, how food is made, mega farms versus local farms. So, and how that food's marketed. I mean, the stuff that's bad for you is marketed at the wazoo. I don't really remember seeing an ad for broccoli or Brussels sprouts. I do for avocado, and it's getting annoying. Okay, I get it. They're good for you. Stop. Yes, you can put them on everything. I get it. But there are a number of factors, nonetheless.